Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Helen Fanucci. Helen is a digital transformation sales leader, team builder, and strategic thinker at Microsoft. She is also an educational counselor for Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where she recruits and interviews the next generation of technology leaders. Helen, thank you for coming to our interview today.
Thank you for having me, Boris. My pleasure and delight.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's my pleasure as well. Today, we will do a deep dive into digital transformation as many organizations are busier than ever digitizing. Microsoft was in a position to act as a digital first responders to the world's first responders when the pandemic hit, as your CEO Satya Nadella put it. With your background, I believe we will have a thoughtful conversation about digital transformation and how Microsoft is paving the way. Helen, can you tell me a short story about your unique path in the industry and what led you to manage such a large team at Microsoft?
Well, I started my career actually as an engineer. So I graduated from MIT and started working for IBM. And I decided shortly into my career that I didn't want to be in the back room making technology, but out in the front with customers, helping them use technology for business benefit and outcomes. And that's been a theme throughout my career, and it really hasn't changed. And so I've had the good fortune to work for some fantastic organizations and companies, but always in roles where we're helping customers utilize technology most effectively. And of course, I'm very proud of the work that Microsoft has done to really help our customers transform rapidly when the pandemic hit.
Mhm. So, as you said, in many industries, COVID has accelerated the move to the digital transformation. As your CEO put, we saw 2 years of digital transformation in just 2 months. And what changes are you seeing in the market? Can you tell us how well your clients are impacted by this crisis, and what organizations will need to do in order to adapt?
Yeah, so as you said, all of a sudden the pandemic hit everybody in one fell swoop. And so some companies were more prepared than others to move their whole entire workforce to home. So some of the things we did early on as an organization is we literally helped companies provision not only with laptops and Surface devices and move to home, but help them with their security, moving from a firewall type arrangement into a zero trust cloud arrangement, because it's impossible these days to actually be able to effectively identify security threats without the use of advanced technology like AI and machine learning. And so moving companies to our cloud, public cloud, enable them to be much more adaptable and work collaboratively across their population, their workers, wherever they were. It's really impossible to do digital transformation and remote work without being in a public cloud environment because of the power and the scale that provides. And so we've helped companies do that, and we're continuing to help companies transform. And in fact, we believe that hybrid work is here to stay. And so some companies were doing what I'll call hybrid workarounds. They were doing kind of things that they needed to do to move quickly. And what we're seeing now is companies really rethinking their infrastructure to be much more resilient, secure. And one of the challenges and risks right now is the capacity for software engineers is at an all-time demand. And in India, where many companies go for some software development work, they're completely at capacity. And even the 1.2 million new software engineers that get graduated every year, they're snapped up like that. And so it's putting a strain on organizations to actually be able to harden their environments and to move to the next level of transformation. And so we're really leaning in to help them, but it's a challenge, I would say, across the globe, with everybody rethinking work and trying to move their infrastructure from, well, frankly, let's say some companies have what I call technical debt, meaning antiquated or older systems, and they're trying to modernize rapidly because they see the need to do that in anticipation of, well, situations that might come that were unanticipated, like this current pandemic.
So Microsoft has been transforming itself from the world's largest software vendor to offering technology-enabled solutions such as hardware, software, services, and cloud computing to help customers improve their operations and their experience of daily life. So it looks like guys at Microsoft totally reinvented this legacy organization, shifting from a focus of pushing the products into the mass market to client solution oriented teams. So Helen, can you tell us what is the secret behind such a rapid transformation?
Well, actually, our transformation began years and years ago. And one of the things that we started doing is we really looked at all of our applications and consolidated our applications. And we put all of our data into a common data lake. And so that enables us, we used to sometimes argue over what data was correct or what reports were correct. Now we're all pulling from the same data source, and so we can have richer conversations. And digital transformation, or transforming and modernizing an IT organization and environment, is literally impossible without cultural transformation. And so one of Satya's first imperatives was really to focus on cultural transformation at Microsoft. And that's been huge, and it is ongoing. It's a journey for sure, and we're still on that journey. But we work together much more collaboratively. We work across teams. It's a very matrix organization. And so it's not just about the technology, but it's also about how people work together. And we all got very comfortable commuting by planes, trains, and automobiles and meeting each other in person. And now we commute by logging onto our keyboards. And it takes new skills of collaboration and building trust, not only with each other in a work environment, but equally with our customers.
Interesting. So diving deep into the cultural transformation, what are the most important things that leaders can do to create a good work from home culture?
Yeah, so one of the things the pandemic has shown us is everybody is in a different situation. Some people have kids that they need to homeschool because all the schools are home. They have parents or family members that have been hit with the pandemic that maybe are in the hospital. So empathy and really connecting with people on a human level has become super important. And as a sales leader and a leader of an organization, it's one of the first questions I ask my team is, okay, how are you doing? What's going on? How can I help you and support you? And Microsoft has recognized that the well-being and health of the employees is first and foremost, because we can't get anything done without a healthy workforce. And so we've ended up having flexible work arrangements, pandemic leave for people that need to take some more time off. Microsoft gave us some extra days called wellness days because people were overly stressed. The other thing that we're seeing is now that everyone's working virtually, people's calendars are booked solid. And so we've implemented some new practices through Teams and Outlook, which is to be able to shorten meetings. So instead of a 30-minute meeting, make it 25 minutes, or an hour meeting, make it 50 minutes. And there's some new research that's come out from Microsoft Research about brain science, and even just taking a short step away and going for a quick walk has the impact of actually enabling people to have much healthier outlook, the brain science supports that. So we really have to look at new ways of working. And so those are some of the things that we're doing internally within Microsoft to be much more empathetic. We also need to do that with our customers as well. And understand that our customer has their own set of challenges, and how can we meet them where they are and better serve them in their current environment.
And maybe without dropping the names, it would be interesting to know what you or your team have recently achieved that you're really proud of, and how, so to we know how does it work in real life?
Yes, so one of our really important customers ended up having a spear phishing cyber attack on their organization. And this is more common, there's a saying that everybody gets some sort of security breach, and they may know it or they may not know it. And so we have an amazing group of individuals that are kind of first responders to really help our customers recover from those situations. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done in that area. And really, first and foremost, how do we step up and really help customers in need, whether it's a security situation or not. And, companies sometimes think, oh, Microsoft's just trying to sell us more things to modernize. Yes, of course. However, there's a method. I mean, if you're going to use the latest technology, you have a much better chance to protect yourself from external threats. At Microsoft, we look at trillions of signals a month, billions of analysis, and take millions of action. The emails that we analyze in just a single month alone coming in through all of our many signals are 450, 500 billion emails a month. So you really need advanced analytics tools like AI and machine learning. And it is a risk to organizations if they're not current and using the latest technology. If they're on antiquated hardware, they're more vulnerable to attacks. And in fact, it used to be about 10 years ago that people thought, oh, well, if I have a firewall and I have my own data center, I'll be more secure than a public cloud provider can ever be. And that notion has changed. And with all of the sophisticated nation state attacks, a public cloud provider can be far more secure. Yes, we get attacked, we see things, but it's literally impossible for a single organization to have that kind of sophisticated security implemented within the organization and still be agile and be able to respond to the next pandemic or earthquake or threat. And so I like to call, public cloud, being on a public cloud is kind of having like herd immunity. We see things, we can help protect our customers, and it's kind of a version of herd immunity, if you will. And it's something that I think is literally impossible for individual organizations to do, certainly not at the size and scale as someone like Microsoft can do.
And so if we take, for example, life of a risk manager, I'm running a global risk community. We're about 100,000 people in the community.
Yes.
And if there is one thing that the risk managers should start doing right now that they are not doing currently, what would it be?
I would say re-envision business continuity. Business continuity strategies, backup, redundancy, never envisioned a global pandemic. And so they were all about earthquake or floods. Well, those are local events and they can be devastating, but it's pretty much assured that there'll be new pandemics. So maybe not on the scale like we've seen with COVID, but we had Ebola, SARS, avian flu. So I think we really need to think differently about business continuity and risks in our business and make sure that you have an agile infrastructure, modern infrastructure that can really adapt as organizations need to adapt to new risks. The second thing I would say is we believe that talent is more important than ever. And with hybrid work and with the pandemic, it's shown us that people can work from anywhere. And so it's now a global marketplace. And so I also think one of the risks to organizations that perhaps hasn't fully been realized is looking at your talent strategies, and how you're going to retain people, because you're now competing with everyone in the world. And I have heard some folks, in my social circle say, if my company requires me to go back to the office, I'm going to quit my job. I'm not going to work that way anymore. And for my team, it's less about whether or not Microsoft has people going back to the office. It's more about, where are our customers? Are our customers in their offices? Do I need to hire people that are kind of in close proximity physically to my customers? Or are they also dispersed? So it will create new strategies for how we interact with our customers and conduct business. And it might be that we don't need to go to our customers' offices anymore, and maybe we can reserve a conference room in a WeWork space or a hotel or something like that. So there'll be different strategies about how we think about real estate and an office environment.
Yeah, fascinating. So, Helen, I would like to ask you a personal opinion. What is the commonly held belief or in digital transformation field, or a biggest misconception that you strongly disagree with?
I think that digital transformation is about technology. That is a misperception. Technology is the easy part. What's the hard part is the people, is the culture. And I think people underestimate, organizations underestimate what it takes to build a strong culture where people want to give their best at work, where they feel included, where they're able to see career advancement, work collaboratively. It is a journey, and it is underestimated. And digital transformation truly at its core is not about technology, but about culture and people.
Okay, fantastic. So, what are the major trends you see in your space, and what should we expect from you guys in the future?
Well, major trends are really looking at how people work together. So in a very short period of time, Zoom made innovations, Microsoft made innovations on Teams, and we're going to see that continue. So kind of employee engagement platforms. We just launched a product on kind of on top of Teams, I'll say, called Viva, and to have a single kind of dashboard and place to work where you can work on training, career development, engaging with teammates. So I think we'll see a lot of advancements along those lines. I also think we're going to see people craving to be back together in some human format, in close proximity. So I actually think that the business conference space is going to take off, because we've all been, in our, team or Zoom meetings, and maybe we've even been on conferences, but I think there's a craving for people to have a connection together and learn from each other in close proximity. So as I said, I think the conference business is going to take off when it's safe to get back together again. And I also think that this pandemic has had people realize, had organizations realize and rethink how they think about their talent, their employees, their office space, transforming. And we're much more interconnected than perhaps we realized in the past. And so that will create different business strategies as well.
Okay, fascinating. So if someone who is listening to this, just to finalize, would like to walk away with one or two major takeaways, what it would be?
First and foremost is if you don't have, kind of clear remote work, technology infrastructure, secure infrastructure, strategies in place. Business continuity is a catchphrase, but really look at your strategies for how you support a global remote workforce and make sure it gets shored up. So if it was a workaround, harden it to make it a permanent fixture. And then the other thing is really pay attention to your talent and put in place deliberate culture strategies. A culture starts with kind of a point of view, a set of values and vision within the organization. We think, is that a vision statement and a set of values that is still relevant? Younger workers have come into the workforce, and I think some companies have outdated value statements. And are you enabling workers and the best talent to work in the way they want to work? Or do you have kind of outdated ideas about what work, how to structure work to be effective and relevant for the community and the talent that you're trying to attract? Because at the end of the day, that will be a differentiator in the business opportunity and possibilities and growth, revenue growth. And so I think talent strategies are more important than ever, and building cultures more important than ever. We have a lot of strategies at Microsoft. Inclusion culture. We brought, in the US, we brought Brene Brown in, and the whole organization of over 10,000 employees in Microsoft US went through the Dare to Lead training from the senior leadership down to the individual contributors. And it's all about empathy and action and how we are really building trust. And there's a lot to unpack, because diversity is, if you will, easy in a sense that you can hire people that are diverse, but really having people feel included and be included really requires behavior change, and that's much harder to do. So it takes being very intentional.
Okay. So from my own perspective as a kind of leader in global risk community, how can we contribute to the process of a better understanding of this complex world of risk?
Well, I think science matters. And so there's a lot of great thinkers that talk about, kind of where the risks are of the future. So there'll be more pandemics. Whether they'll be in global in scale, I don't know. Certainly climate change is a risk factor, a huge risk factor. And so there are some trends that, you can read about, you can learn. I like to read from lots of different thinkers, and also really think about who are setting the new trends, and the thought leaders in your community. And it's not just about the community, though. We're in a global community. So I would take it from different disciplines, whether it's brain science and how we work together, and or the science of climate change, or the science of pandemics, and also looking at how new technologies, since I'm a tech girl, how new technologies can really make a difference in terms and inform business strategies.
Okay, fantastic. Helen, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.